No, my thing's better.
I was holding that burp. I was waiting.
Woo! That was epic.
Thank you.
I have a thin sword. I'm going to yeet Brett off the deck after this.
So, this is the second video in a thing that we did a little bit ago. If you didn't see it, Doctor Who versus fucking Beelzebub, the most random thing in the world. Premises, we take two things, one dude argues for one thing, one dude argues for the other thing, and then someone in the middle is the one being convinced. Today I'll be the one being convinced, and we have David arguing for
Adventures of God!
It's a webcomic. And then we have Thurman arguing for
The Gamer!
also a webcomic. Webcomics time today. So you know what? I'll take opening statements from both first, and then we'll go through the conversations that from there. So who wants to start here?
I get it.
I'll let you, Thurman.
So, just to give a bit of a summary of what the Gamer is about. So, to really understand the world of the Gamer, I'm not going to try to spoil too much. However, it's essentially about a boy named Hanji Han, well, kid, whatever. He's a massive gamer. He plays games, MMOs, PC, Dota 2, League of Legends, because they're very popular in Korea, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it turns out that just at the start, just the way it starts, his life suddenly changes. He goes to class and he starts seeing health bars. He starts seeing levels above people's heads. He starts, certain when he goes home, like his mom asks him to go to the store, and it becomes like a mission, and he sees like a thing that pops up that says take mission, yes or no, what you get if you succeed, blah blah blah. So essentially he finds out that he has become into he sees the world as a video game. He sees that he has two abilities. This is technically a fighting manhwa, but he has two abilities called the gamer's body and the gamer's mind. Now, the gamer's mind and body essentially turn him. He interacts with the world as a video game. The gamer's mind makes so he doesn't feel fatigue. He doesn't, basically the benefits of being a video game character, not being tired, stuff like that. You don't feel things that, and he also has resistance to mental strain. So basically, he gets the body and mind.
Thurman, I have a very important question.
Yes.
Does he ever use this inability to feel fatigue to be a master grade A fucker? Like, you could fuck real good.
He has a semi-harem that grows. So you could take that as you will. So essentially, going on here, so he finds out that he has the ability to, become video game character. So at first, the first few chapters of the series, it's straight off of getting Jihan getting used to his newfound powers, how him learning, because since he's a master of video games, he essentially knows what, all the ins and outs, trying to ins and outs of his ability. So the first few chapters is him getting to know his newfound powers. Like for example, it's actually really funny. Like he wants to be smarter, so he goes and puts points into his intelligence so he can get smarter. But he only started out with so many intelligence.
It's only or that easy.
Yeah, so you know how in MMOs, there's like, when you level up, there are points, and you can boost that to your stats. He's doing that. So it's a very interesting concept. There's more in detail to the series, but I think that's a good summary for now.
All right. So, in the Adventures of God, we have the glorious shitpost of a comic that basically gives the fucking wonderful father-son relationship between God and Jesus and all the followers of religion, as well as Lucifer and Ebag, and some supporting characters that aren't really worth a whole hell of a lot unless they're integral to a plot. Like this week's episode where we met Bob, who had perfect balance, and did a nice deed, and got sent to heaven, and then did a bunch of fucking bad deeds to try to get back to purgatory so he could play volleyball with the angels. But
so give me like an overview, like if you were to try to get someone into it, describe what is it about?
Basically, it's about the goods, the bads of religion, and how it can control the human mind.
Mm-hmm.
So you see those that blindly follow faith to its bitter end. You know, please let me, like the first the episode, as I call it. Like the first one, please let me win the 100-meter dash in the Olympics. There's two people competing. God's just like, fuck it, let's give it to both of them. One of them ends up in the Special Olympics because he's paralyzed from the waist down.
Oh yeah.
And then
that's some Bruce Almighty shit. You remember, like he had all the prayers and he's just like, just answer them all.
Exactly. So he's just like, fuck it, thank me later.
And that's why not every prayer can be answered, folks.
Exactly. Because you'd end up with scenarios like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I really respect about this comic. It's made by an atheist and a Christian.
Mm-hmm. It's an Assassin's Creed opening situation.
Exactly. So, like, you go into this with a clear conscience, like you go into, like, any Assassin's Creed game, and you kind of like, okay, while I don't agree with this, it's still fucking funny. Or when you do agree with it, you know, oh, this makes sense. You can't, you know, have everything your way, otherwise you end up with some harem level bullshit.
Well, you don't want
powers.
you don't want an echo chamber either. It's good to read shit you disagree with. What I will say too, and because you've described some of this stuff to me before, as a Christian, just to get real deep, I am a Christian here, but I try hard to show people that I'm not an asshole. Since I swear like a fucking sailor, I masturbate to hentai. I'm not a fucking prude. You know what I mean? So. I'm a Christian of, I think, was it Chris that described me as a Christian following non-douchebagitarianism or whatever? David?
Yeah, that was him.
He said something like that. But yeah, so I can appreciate this kind of comic because I'm not someone that's like, oh my god, you're insulting my religion, because sense of humor is important. And especially considering it reminds me of the situation that we're in, with you being a hardcore atheist and me being a Christian, and we're able to coexist and not be at each other's throats, because it's not that fucking hard, people. So I respect stuff like that. So yeah,
exactly. So I'm going to dive into a little bit more here. Like, you see God as an alcoholic idiot in this series. Like, the pressure has kind of gotten to him of like having to be like everybody's messiah. So he's just like, at this point in his career, essentially, he's like, let's just roll the dice and see what we can do.
So at this point, he's basically just giving up on
pleasing everybody.
It's like how you have it's like the natural progression. Like, you're a dreamer in the beginning. That's probably when he created the earth, and then like it's just like now he's just like, oh god.
I see war. I see famine. I see people.
Fucked up.
I see people not using what I've given them. So fuck everybody.
Big reset.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of tries to do that in a way. Let's just say there's a few episodes of this webcomic. I don't want to give too much plot away for those that haven't read in the fucking that are viewing it, but it gets really weird. Like, you see Lucifer kind of being more of the rational of the two. Like, you see him like, what the fuck is wrong with you kind of moments for what God's doing here. Like, you can't, create new species. You can't, do random shit here just to try to please yourself, essentially.
Right. So I guess I would ask, because you talk about how it's got both sides. They show what's bad and good about it. So what is there? Can you give me an example of something that actually like goes against the because there's so many things that just like to shit on religion immediately, and I always appreciate series that don't do that, like where they kind of are fair. So like like one of my favorite examples is Alexander Anderson from Helsing. He was a psychopath, and at first you think, oh, he's just gonna be the psychopathic asshole religious guy, but then there's scenes of him like straight up being like a kind dude to like children, and so I mean, what can you give me an example of a scene like that in in Adventures of God?
So you see one specific scenario that comes to mind, like Lucifer's kind of having a shit day, and his helpers kind of dealing with all of the bullshit, and you see God kind of visit, essentially. Like, I know it sucks when you have all the bad people here, but, you know, this is what you've signed up for in your agreement to, you know, help, you know, weed out the bad. So, is there anything I can do to kind of take your load off here? And you see them kind of interact in a way you don't really see Lucifer and God interact, you know. And,
well, because it can be easily forgotten too that if you're going, you know, if you read the Bible, Satan was originally one of God's angels, you know, and God is an equally loving being. You know, he loves all. So it's interesting to see what you mentioned there, like for him actually to kind of sit down with him, and because I'm sure I would assume if I was to, you know, kind of try to delve into the psyche of like God, he would probably be very just kind of sad and disappointed in Lucifer, you know what I mean? So like I would be interested to see relationships like that.
You also see that there's a therapist like character that's basically an artist insert of the religious side of the group here, Coriantio. Basically insert himself into the story and basically play therapist for God and half the fucking...
Did God create his own therapist?
Essentially. He essentially created his own therapist, like, where did I go wrong kind of shit.
Well, you made me.
I can't answer for
How do you therapy your creator?
Right? So you see weird shit like that, like even God needs a day off kind of shit.
Yeah, hey, that's also true. That's what Sundays were.
Exactly. So you see like him sitting on the couch, you know, watching sports, like... Oh,
the burp added to that, by the way. Sitting on the couch.
Like, oh, no, we got. Can I interject into the sports game here? I want my team to win.
Yeah, I want you to win. Let me just move that football a little bit.
It's really fucking weird to see, you know, and not all of this is dialogue based. You kind of just infer, like, you see like him, the little thought bubbles in his eyes, kind of shit. Like,
show don't tell. Yeah.
Yeah. So
like
that's something I really respect for this, like. With webcomics, you see, like, shorter chapters, because I don't know about the gamer Thurman, but Adventures of God is, you know, twice a week, on Tuesdays and I think Saturdays.
It's every week.
Every week.
On Fridays.
Okay, so I know some of them are those that, you know, come out twice a week, some of them that come out, you know, monthly, some of them that come out weekly. So you see, like, these chunks of, like, 5-6 panels, and then to maximize how they do everything in Adventures of God... Then you see them like do more art detail than dialogue based detail.
So, okay, so Thurman, question for you, I guess. So after the initial premise of, because obviously that's a premise that we've seen done a little bit. You know, the whole I'm either in a game or my life is becoming a game.
We see Isekai everywhere nowadays.
So what does the series do to kind of diversify itself, differentiate itself, and like moving forward? I assume it's long running. It's been going on for a while. What does it do? Where do the arcs go where it kind of like keeps itself fresh?
So the great thing about the Gamer is that it has great diversity. You don't me personally. I feel like as someone who always wants like something new, the Gamer does that. Like Jihan, the main character's name is Jihan. As the story progresses, it becomes more battle oriented. You find out that there are different gods, different like types of like mythologies in the series from Korea. There's this thing called I just read the chapter. I forgot what it's called, but it's essentially this underground kind of like organization. Think of it as like the dark web, like the dark net, except different. And it's where like people like Jihan and others reside. It's like a place where people go, mages, witches, and stuff like that, all associate, and it becomes a very great oriented story. Because let me give you a bit of a character. So Jihan has a friend who lives in a guild. Like the guild, his guild is one of the strongest guilds in Korea. So there's like a few guilds, two main ones that are essentially powerful. One, like both of them are equal standing. Like it would take literally like an army to like destroy these guilds. That's how strong they are. So it's essentially, so how it sets it up is it explains how Jihan got his powers. They're innate. It's I forgot what the name was. It's been a long time since I read it from the beginning. But essentially, how it is explained is that the world essentially gave people these powers. So the best example that they gave it was, let's say you were drowning, correct? And you were about to drown, but you were saved. The world would give you the ability of water because that was like a near-death experience, and it was something that was connected to you. And the reason why Jihan got his powers of the gamer was because he was really into video games, and that's what he's been doing. That's what he's known for.
So wait, did he have like a near-death experience, or is that not how everyone's powers are triggered?
No, that's not how everyone's powers are triggered. It's more so like I'd have to go and get the scan for you. It's explained in the scan better than I can explain it, but how it's essentially explained is something in the world gives people these powers depending on who they are. So Jihan was lucky enough to get it because he's really into games, have randomly. But so it's essentially something like that. So in this current arc, an example, there's a woman. There's a woman, essentially a girl who's handicapped. She's been handicapped her entire life, and because of that, she has the ability to essentially use mental connections. She's able to essentially give people these masks, like they're called the Church of Masks, and the ability of these masks is to share emotions. They share like emotional stress. Like let's say like you hate life, you're going through a rough stretch, you're coming back from that. So what they do is they all connect their minds together, and it essentially eases them. And it specifically states that it isn't mind control. People have a choice. They essentially have a choice to whether accept it or not. And people do because they realize that life is hard, and you share some of your darkest memories with other people who are part of the Church of Mass. So it's kind of like and that was like her innate ability from her to be able to essentially live without having legs, because she can't, like, she's handicapped. She's been in a wheelchair her entire life. She's essentially handicapped. So the way it makes it go fresh is as the series progresses, you start meeting all these new characters. You start understanding the kind of the underground a bit, how it works, people in the underground. Jihan himself has great growth because he goes through this type of society that he's living in. Since he has this ability now, people are coming after him because of how dangerous his ability is. He becomes stronger, and people say this all the time. Him being a video game character is essentially cheating, is because he can grind like in a video game and gain strength that way. Like his main focus is first he learns. First he chooses which type of role he wants to be, right? Because in MMOs there's all different type of roles. So he chooses to be an intelligence user, like someone who uses like a wizard. So he starts, once he realizes this, he starts training himself to learn all the different type of spells and essentially grinding by making these areas to where he can train for hours, periods of time. Current Jihan can make little area zones to where he, like, times in that zone could be is longer than what times in the actual outside world. So the way
some hyperbolic time jabber shit, essentially.
Yeah. So what makes it great is seeing Jihan throughout the series grow as a character and see his abilities. And you see most of the time he does his training. All he does is train, grind, like a video game character does. And it's so enjoyable, at least to me, to see his character kind of, because of his video game knowledge, he knows, okay, this is what I have to do with this. This is what I do to prepare for this. Okay, I'm an intelligence user, so I'm weak to such and such. So seeing that process of him go through essentially learning what his weaknesses is, learning how to capitalize on that, and learning new abilities is something that anyone it will be a refreshing thing to see. especially given all the enemies he has to face. And what's great about his ability is that he can learn an ability, like to say, like for example, he learns a healing ability just by it being a book. Like there's a book and icon pops up saying, "Would you like to learn this book?" And you click yes, and he essentially learns the ability like that. And
like, are you talking like the book became an ability, or can he just read a book like that fast?
Like the book, it's an actual book, but it like the abilities and the contents of the book and how to use the ability, because you have to train to use it, because it's like there's key and magic in this universe, but like while it would take a normal person to essentially train to learn that technique, all he has to do is just essentially just click on it and he'll learn the ability instantly. But he
got the hacks. Wait, so key and magic are separate from the weird fucking gamer power or the weird mask power that the girl got? Like how do the power schemes different?
So it's his power isn't necessarily using in magic. He does have MP like anyone else does, but it's not essentially needed. Like at the beginning, he learns like he uses like a baseball bat, and it's not really magic based because you don't really use like magic, something like that. But most of it they use for magic. Like the girl with the mental connection, she uses magic as well, but she also has mental technique. He also learns non-magical abilities as well, so it kind of keeps it going there because he learns different types of abilities, and he learns how to use it and combine them in different ways. So it's essentially what happens is that he learns how. So for the first half of it, he doesn't really become a mage until like I would say halfway near, because that's when it starts getting serious. That's when he's like, people are coming after his life now because he's people realize that he's dangerous. His ability is.
Who are the people coming after him? Out of curiosity, like
it's a bunch of people, like no-name people, but some people who really want to kill him because on the dark net he could be sold. Like his power, not necessarily his powers, but he himself can be sold into like slavery. The slavery is very predominant in the underground. It has a name, but it escapes me at the moment. So sorry. I'll when I send the scans, it will make more sense. So essentially, this underground is very dangerous because newcomers who enter it don't know that this is a organization that runs underground. There are a lot of dangerous races, dangerous people in said organization, and if not handled correctly, they can be dangerous. So his friend who finds this out says, "Okay, look, you're going to be a part of our guild now because people are going to start coming after you." Because beforehand, there's a little bit, he was protected by someone. I'm not going to say who, but he was protected by someone, but that protection is gone now. The guy decided, I'm not protecting you anymore for some unknown reason. So now, once that's over, people are going to come after him now. So essentially, he had to prep himself because he could be sold into slavery. People could kill him, and his ability is essentially cheating because he can learn what someone could learn. Would have to learn, take months to learn. He can learn in an instant just by his gamer ability alone.
Okay, so one of my favorite things with the series is like the fact that like the character has to like there's a lot of hardship and it's like if he can learn shit just immediately, then where does like the challenge for him come from in the series?
Well, the first challenge comes from because he's not invincible. Keep in mind he has prep time. He needs prep for most of his abilities to work. That's the main thing that he's focused on, is that his main thing is he's always prepared. Huh. That's his one thing, because he's not invincible. He has been before. He's powerful now, but he still can't be beaten. He's not the most powerful, but it'll still take some time. Because he trains a lot because he knows he's not that strong. He can hold his own against like a mid-tier, but that still wouldn't be enough. So the hardship comes from the fact that, and actually one of the great character development is something I believe you would like, is the fact that he realizes that he might have to kill someone to protect himself. And that's
so there's like a whole thing where he's like oh shit,
Yeah.
I've never had to kill someone before, but now it's right, something like that.
Yeah. So the one thing that's good about the gamer's mind is the gamer's mind makes you think logically, like logically thinking, like getting nervous, getting bent up, getting worked up. The gamer mind doesn't keeps you calm at all times. Like if you got shot in the foot, most humans would be screaming, saying, oh my God, he wouldn't do that because the gamer mind essentially blows that for him.
Well, right, and that makes sense too, because like if you're playing a character in a game and they get hurt, they're not gonna freak out. So like he's essentially become a video game character, right?
Yeah. So, and one thing he realizes that a friend of his was kidnapped. Someone who was unfortunately caught up in what he was doing in a while he was training, and she gets kidnapped, and he beats the guy who kidnaps her. Spoiler, sorry, but you won't see that until we actually read. You know what I'm talking about. And he goes through this inner monologue. He's saying, "Should I just capture this guy, or do I kill him? Because if I don't kill him, he'll just keep coming after me and her." So I think he thinks logically with the gamer mind. He's saying, maybe I should kill this guy. I've never killed someone before, but I probably should kill him because if I don't, he's going to keep coming back. And it's just one of those situations to where being in a world where it's kill or be killed, you have to make that final choice.
Okay, so it sounds interesting. I guess I'm trying to figure out because like, how does the combat play out? And like, are we talking like DBZ style fights, Hunter x Hunter style fights? Like, where's the parallel or like the balance between like action and strategy, or how does that work out in your opinion?
So I would say it's a combination of Hunter x Hunter mixed with Hitman Reborn, in the sense of it's very strategy based. Although there is some combat here and there that's like similar. It's not like destruction, boom, explosion, blah, 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 type deal. It's
right. I mean, I don't mind that kind of stuff occasionally. It just shouldn't rely on it, sometimes it's fun to have stuff like that, but it shouldn't be all the time.
It mostly relies on its strategy and characters, truly, because there is I wouldn't say there's flashy stuff, but the fights make sense. There's no bullshit stuff. There's no friendship namaka stuff. It's very integrated in how Jihan knows how to handle a situation, and his friends know how to fight hand-to-hand combat or stuff that they were born with. Something like that.
All right, cool. Okay, David. Let's see here. So it's obviously more of like a Sunday newspaper style funnies type comic, right? So I guess yours is more. So what I'm seeing from here, if I was to kind of analyze what I'm getting here, Thurman's the gamer here. That would be more of it's a commitment. It's like a series that you get into, and it's gonna have, I assume, pretty heavy lore, stuff like that. And then David's is kind of like pick up and read, kind of just for fun. Mm-hmm. I'm torn because I like both. I'm probably gonna read both. I'm definitely gonna give Gamer a try. I think I read the first chapter of Gamer at one point because the whole seeing health bars over his classmates sounded familiar to me. So the only thing that's kind of concerning me about the Gamer currently, from what I'm hearing, is it sounds like the power scheme might be a little bit all over the place because what I like in a series is for the powers to make sense. So what I mean by that is I really don't like series what was the one that was a visual novel, Fate, Fate something or other. There's one of those where every character just have a power. It's like someone fucking went to the power listing wiki and threw a dart, and it's all right, he gets that power just because. And so it just, that's my biggest concern with the Gamer from what I'm hearing, is that it just kind of sounds. I like series where the power makes sense. So Bleach, their power comes from a soul that they harvest inside themselves, yada yada, boom, makes sense. Hunter x Hunter, they get Nen, they make their own power, so all their powers always match with their personality, makes sense. Naruto has a very well established chakra system, and the jutsus and stuff, makes sense. One Piece, Devil Fruits, Hockey, makes sense. This kind of just sounds like it's one of those, kind of the antithesis of what I'm not a fan of, which is the whole, this guy just gets this power. So I guess I'll give you one final chance to convince me otherwise of that, Thurman.
What I'm going to say is that his power is explained. I just explained badly. Is that he doesn't? Yes, at the start of he gets the power, but is explained why and how he got said ability and how he gets his abilities, and it's fully. And you see him go through the process of getting his other abilities too. Like the whole process of how he gets as strong as he is it's explained very well. Like you don't. It's not like he has this, he has this, he has this. He goes through that little training process, and we see him go through that. So we see the ins and outs of his ability. We see how he got it. We see how he works with it. So it's something that the series itself had to explain better than I could, because it's explained very, very well. To the point where it's like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Because the water example I gave makes a lot of sense.
Well, Thurman, this series is Know My Things Better, and if you can't explain it, you're gonna lose.
Okay, you might have all the bullshit powers, but do you have Drunk God making fucking dinosaurs? One second.
Ooh, I want to see.
You have Drunk God making dinosaurs, and then seeing while drunk a guinea pig, and like, oh, that thing's cute. Nuke the fucking lizards.
So
you have God kill dinosaurs, but do you have a scene where Jihan takes a strong guy, one of the most powerful guy's daughter, out on a date, and the strong guy follows Jihan and gives him death stares throughout the entire time, and he has to make sure that he doesn't do anything or he's gonna get killed.
Okay, so I get where you're going. So Thurman, yours sounds interesting, and I'm gonna give it a shot. But like I said, when I look for a shonen, my main thing is a state. And we talked about this in our remember the video that we did, the what makes a good power system, which we can just card it because it'll be right near the end of the video. We'll card it here. That's kind of what I look for, and it just kind of seems a little all over the place so far. And that's kind of one of the issues I've had with a lot of webcomics I've read. I read webcomics, and it's like, it doesn't satisfy that OCD itch of mine, which is like, the powers make sense and they're all explained, you know. But I will certainly give it a shot. I'll give both of these a shot, but the winner, as of now, and what I will be looking into first is I will say Tower of God every time. Adventures of God.
Yay!
But Thurman, I will read the Gamer for sure. All right. Final comments here, Thurman?
No, that's all good.
You're not salty, are you?
It's all false.
Thurman, I want you to know that I legitimately, like, every time we do a video like this, the whole time, I'm rooting for you, because I'm like, if he loses again, he's gonna think I'm against him or something.
So, fuck it. I because that's worse. But if I remember the terminology better, I probably would have won. But
Big ass lizards. Until next time, peace.